Welcome back, April from Iceland.
Thank you.
From the Melanated Way, I'm Linda. Obviously, that's April over there. She was traveling and now she's back. We are on a different day, but we are here at the same time. Welcome. We're covering Match Me Abroad. April, I can't believe it's already episode 9. And I think it might just be a 10-episode arc. So I'm not sure about that, but it feels like they're winding it up already. And I was kind of shocked by that.
Yeah, it seems like we're winding up Susan and Nathalie, and we're just getting started with Princess.
And I am shocked that Princess Michelle is actually turning out to be my favorite.
Who knew? Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Who knew? You know what? I am done with y'all. I was looking at the comments in the replay from last week, and everyone's like, "Oh, something April Canada, something April Canada," and I was like, "Okay, I'm just we're here now. You were clearly an honorary Canadian, and we're just gonna go with that now."
I'll have my crumpets next live.
Oh God. See what you guys did? Oh Lord. Okay, so before we get carried away, as per usual, bottom of the screen, you can see where you can support the show. Your support is really appreciated, as well as there's super chat and super stickers available. And while we're doing all the housekeeping, don't forget to like and subscribe and tell a friend and tell another friend. Head over to April's page, Holloway Legal PLLC, where she is live streaming in conjunction right now. And like and subscribe there over as well.
Yes, please.
So, overall thoughts of this episode?
I am sad that it looks like it's closing out for some of our people. But you know what? I like Nathalie more now.
I'm surprised. I feel like we need more time.
We definitely need more time. Need more time.
Yeah, and there was like 3 weeks, and it just doesn't feel like it was 3 weeks. I need enough more time with the cast members as well as the locations they showed up at. Like, I feel like I didn't get enough of the world that they traveled to. And then I'm surprised that, one of these matchmakers have to make some type of match. I feel like there might be one in the horizon, but like, hello.
I mean, they came in so strong with their 99% success, 96% success rate. So I was expecting, by the time this is over, all of our people are headed right down the aisle.
That part. And like 3 weeks and only 2 dates, maximum 3 dates. What's been going on the rest of the days?
Yeah, exactly. Because we should have been utilizing breakfast, lunch, dinner,
right. Hello, April had like 400 dates in 30 days, so it can be done.
It can be done. It can, and it's. I was working when I did all that too. Come on, you guys are like, come on.
Yeah, I don't get it. So, let's just jump in. So we started with what was surprising to me, y'all. Surprising. Michael and Michelle's date. And if you guys remember, Michael's the doctor, aka baker blogger. I like that. And he was like, I wasn't feeling him last week. I thought he was not very friendly. I didn't like how he was talking about Michelle behind her back. But it turns out, you guys, he was just really, really nervous. And he did say it last week, April. He did say he needs to warm up to people. He really needs to warm up to people. Like, he may be socially awkward. I'm thinking maybe he spent all of his time in the books and studying, and he likes rules and regulations. And so to get outside of his comfort zone, that was all outside his comfort zone. What were your immediate thoughts?
Well, he said he was conservative last week. So I thought she was turning him off with being so open and bubbly about certain topics. But I was wrong. Apparently he was needed to take his time and get warmed up to being on the date, being on camera, maybe even.
Yeah.
And now he's okay.
Yeah, it was super weird. So she talked about how in the beginning of the day, which we saw last week, they had to do the baking in order, and she was really turned off by it. And she was turned off the fact that she felt like he didn't have any confidence. Um, and so she was like, "Oh no, this is not going to work." So I give credit for the date working out 100% to Michelle, because she didn't allow this guy to turn her personality off. And what I mean by that is, I'll speak for myself. If I'm not catching a vibe, I'm not going to continue to put it out there. And I might have like a bit of like an attitude, not an attitude, but I'll just be like, yeah, if you're going to be, yeah, I'll match you where you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what she did. Michelle just continued to be herself, her bubbly self, kept like engaging him, kept asking him questions. And finally she was able to like pull him out of his shell. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I agree. I give her credit for continuing to be herself and not shutting down, because she's coming out of not dating for a while. But I will give him a little bit of credit too, because he recognized that he was part of the problem.
Yes, agreed. So she asked him some questions to get him out of his shell. First one was, have you dated a patient before? And he says no, but he's like, he thought about it, which is an interesting thing, because I feel like that's like a fine line to admit to. But, he says that one of the things that he enjoys is that he likes to be in the moment, and he likes to, just wait, and when the magic happens, it happens, and that's when you have a connection with someone. While Michelle was like, well, I'm more of a realist. Like, I'm not waiting for the magic. I'm more of a realist. And she's like, I need a mental and an emotional connection. That's really important to me. And if I don't see it, then it's not a thing. What were your thoughts on those comments?
I don't like what I'm about to say, and maybe I'm wrong. I think that because she's been hurt, that she's trying to make a logical decision out of something that most likely for most people is not a logical decision.
And here's what's interesting is that, I won't call any names out, but my co-host on this show, no names, was really against Katerina, her matchmaker. And Katerina basically just said the exact same thing that you just said. So, I mean, my co-host.
Well, Katerina, I agreed with her when she said that. I disagree with other things that she said, but as Michelle was talking, I heard an old version of myself talking. And I was like, oh, girl, you're still going through it. You're still working through some things, and you'll get there.
Yeah. But I love the fact that she's making an effort. And I love the fact that, to my pleasant surprise, that Katerina, she does say a lot of things, in my opinion, that are a little like, wait, what did you say? You want me to submit to who, the what, the where? But I guess she does know what she's doing, because she knew exactly where Michelle had some work to do. And she wanted to point out those things to her in order for her to have successful dates and move forward and find the one, which, who knew? Who knew? She knew what she was doing. So Michelle asked about the traditional roles, right? And how, back to her matchmaker, Katerina was like, hey, listen, the men here in the Czech Republic are very, very traditional. The woman is barefoot and pregnant at the house, taking care of the house and the kids, and the man goes to work, all that thing. And so she asks Michael, where do you stand with that? And he's like, well, I don't really believe in the traditional, if that's the definition of tradition. He said, I believe there are no defined roles in a relationship. And I thought that is where, boom, that was where they connected immediately, because that's what she's been saying the whole time, right? There's not really a traditional way to look at a relationship. Each relationship is different, and you bring into it what you want to get out of it. It doesn't have to be like, oh, it has to be this, and this way, because I don't think any two relationships are the same. April?
Oh, I agree. At this point, I did want to ask him, well, what do you mean when you said that you are conservative? Because it means something to me that is different from what he just said. but she wouldn't know to ask him that because he said it like as an aside to the camera. But I would like to know at some point going forward, what do you define as conservative if you don't believe in traditional gender roles?
It's a really good question. So while they put their cake in the oven, they got to know each other a little bit better, and wine and rum will do that. Loose lips. Loose lips. Because he was smiling more. They were cheersing. I was like, oh, okay.
He really was letting that cake stress him out.
He really was. He really, really was. So the date got a little bit better after that. And he admits to himself that in the beginning, he was more focused on getting the cake done than focused on Michelle. But he had fun. He loosened up. He feels connected on many levels with her. And I was just like, okay, so this dude right here, obviously multi-layered, right? I think a little bit shy if I was like the unlicensed therapist. I would say a little bit shy, a little bit socially awkward. I think you're right where it's like the cameras are there. However, he's a blogging baker, so he should be used to be on camera, unless he just like does it and then does like a little write-up or something.
Well, he gets to edit that. Like when I'm making videos for TikTok, I get to edit them and choose how to put them out, not just have a camera in front of me and the controls all in somebody else's hands. That's different, right?
I guess I'm so used to cameras that I'm just like whatever.
Yeah, you're like a professional journalist, which is very different from, okay, I'm a lawyer. I stand up and speak in court when necessary. That would be completely different from giving a press conference.
You're right. I mean, you're right. Either way, I didn't see this date ending up well. I didn't see it. Sometimes you guys, I tell you that, well, not sometimes, my gut is like right all the time, but that's another story. I didn't see this coming. Did you see this coming, April, that it actually was going to be a great date where they both want to see each other again?
I didn't see it coming, but I'm so happy for her.
Ryan says, I was really shocked that Michelle's date didn't end as poorly as it started. That part.
Yeah, so kudos to both of them for being people who seem to acknowledge their own flaws.
Yeah, agreed. So we're all pleasantly surprised about the baking date, and Michelle meets up with her matchmaker, Katerina, and she tells Katerina, yeah, the date went well. There was a bit of a stumble in the beginning, and, but we worked through it. She wants to build a connection with him, and she wants to know if there's space for chemistry. And we're really going to have a conversation, April, about this because I find it fascinating. So she tells Katerina, it went well. I want to see him again. I definitely want to have a second date. And she's like, maybe chemistry is not like bam in your face. Maybe you can build towards chemistry. And, we start with a little bit of spark, a little bit of fun, and go from there. Now, Katerina says she's not sure if Michelle really likes Michael or if she's just being polite. And one of the reasons is because Michelle, like you just said, has had a bad experience with cheating and with men. And so she says because of her past results, she doubts if Michael really likes her, right? So she needs, for her own security, to know that the person that she's interested in is actually interested in her. So what does Katerina do? She plays Michael's feedback, and Michael's feedback, y'all, woo, it was all A++. He said that the date was amazing, that Michelle is lovely, the baking went well, and Michelle loved his cake. Michelle is warm-hearted, vibrant, a great woman, and he's really, really happy and wants to see her again, which boosted Michelle's confidence. She was really happy about that. Do you want to add anything to that before I move on? So then This is where I want us to have a conversation, April. So then Michelle's like, the next thing I want to do, because, I'm not here for a long time, is I want to make sure that we are sexually compatible. And Katerina's like, it's only the second date. Isn't that too fast? And she's like, no, I don't have a lot of time. And then Katerina's like, well, you Americans, you guys move so fast. Us Euros, we take our time. Why don't you try to, quote, get him emotionally naked first and see what that looks like before you jump into bed with him? So Katerina's like, I'll choose the next date for you so that I can set that up so that you'll have the ability to like kind of get to the emotional part. Now let's talk about this, April. What are your thoughts on that?
I was really surprised that she said that because I always hear Americans being described as like prudes.
I've never heard that about Americans. Not
Oh
ever.
yeah. When I see like maybe it's better without these. Let's see. Okay. Echo went away from me. I hope it went away from you. But when I hear when you see like European,
it's better with the earpieces.
What's better?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, give me a second, guys.
I've heard Americans only be prudes in like trying new things, like going to the disco and like getting loose and like maybe like wet shirts and being free and all of that, but not when it comes to like, hey, let's be intimate. Never heard that. So anyways, go on.
Yeah, no, when I hear like feedback on European commercials that are a little bit more overtly sexual, it's always like, oh, Americans are being prudes. There's nothing wrong with showing your body. And Europeans go to the beach with their thongs on, and that's not really an American thing. And so I was surprised when she said that Americans move really fast. But
no, but I don't. They're saying the same thing.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't own perception on Americans, but that was different from what I've heard.
Yeah, but you and I are saying the same thing.
We are?
Yeah. We're saying that. I feel like we're saying the same thing, but not. So we're saying the same thing in what you're saying. Like, you're not going to see on commercials Americans and thongs and all of that. That is considered like, oh, Americans are more prudish. But what I'm saying is in the day-to-day one-to-one, someone's on Tinder or Grindr or Hinge or whatever, those fools are hooking up immediately.
Oh, absolutely they are.
That's what I'm saying.
A lot of times they are.
Yeah.
But I would not hold that out to be the average American.
This is a really good study. I need someone to do this study. Really, because I'm curious. I'm really curious.
I think countries that are European, in particular countries that are a little bit more secular and aren't like guided by religion, I think they look at Americans as being ridiculously prudish or hypocritical, at least, like maybe participating in the activities, but hypocritical about being public or acknowledging it.
Interesting. I want that to be a study. I do. We're moving on to Harold and Michaela. Listen, Harold, listen to me closely right now. I need you to pump your brakes. I was afraid that you were going to be this person, and you showed up. You were so good on that date. You went with the flow. You were communicative, and now it's the next day, and I don't know. You woke up and something happened.
He's spiraling because it's almost time for him to leave, and he's worried. Like he feels like he's just to seal the deal in some way before he leaves.
In all the ways. He needs to, like, listen, when he started creating problems where there were none, I was like, oh, Harold.
I felt sorry for Harold during yoga. I'm like, he needs to fart, doesn't he?
He sure did. I was like, and then instead of saying that, he's like, my tummy hurts. I ate too many seeds. I was like, you ate too many seeds, Harold? Seeds?
I was like, seeds?
What seeds? What seeds were you eating? Oh, Lord. Okay, so Harold woke up and he feels different. He feels special. He feels energized.
And so he calls Michaela to do the good morning call. And while he's doing that, he's thinking about her lips on his. And so good morning happens. She wants to see him again because she's going to be busy throughout the week because she has to go to work, and she doesn't live close to Prague. She's like 2 hours out. So she invites him to go do yoga before she has to go to work. And he agrees. He's a little hesitant because he's never done yoga before, but he's going to go because he wants, his words, a little bit of pain and embarrassment is worth it to see her again. Oh, I think we have April on pause over there. Can you hear us, April? Thumbs up.
I can hear you. Can you not see me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
But my face is stuck?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me just leave and come back real quick.
Okay. Ryan says, as an American and back on dating apps, I guess I'm a prude because I don't want to show my goods or see anyone else's when we just started chatting. That's fair. That's fair, Ryan. 100% fair. I just feel like maybe. Hi, Cassie. Hey, girl. Hi. I feel like, I don't know. I'm not on the app, so I just know what I hear. There you are.
Okay. Yeah. So poor Harold.
Okay. So yeah, Harold.
Yeah.
So they're going to see each other again. She invites him to do yoga. He's never done it before. And like I said, he wants to do it because a little bit of pain and embarrassment is worth it to see her again. So he gets there. He's got his little brown shorts and his little brown matching shirt. And she puts him through all the exercises. So there's a breathing exercise against a tree. And she's like helping him, right? She's got her hands on his back. And he is like, you could tell he's uncomfortable and he wants to talk. And she's like, no talking, no talking.
Please, no talking. She smashed his belly on the tree.
She's like, no talking, just breathe. Just breathe. And in his mind, he is like, it's been a while since he's been touched. And, you guys, during the whole pandemic and all of that stuff, I was reading a lot of articles about where we are now in 2023. And don't quote me on this, but it's close. I think it's like 78% of, and this is an American study, 78% of American people feel lonely. And it's the highest it's been since the pandemic. And to me, that just makes sense, right? Because I do think that we just live in different times now. And so when he said that, I don't know, it touched my heart because I do feel like more often than not now, a lot of people are lonelier. So like, check on your peoples. And even if they're not your peoples, the smile that you have towards a stranger or the hello you say to your neighbor could be the only interaction that they have with other people throughout the day. And that might just make their day. All right. I'm off of thanks for coming to my TED Talk. April, you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, a lot of people are touch deprived. I think culturally, a lot of people are struggling too. I used to work with a lot of Puerto Ricans and I could tell like it was just killing them to not come into my office and like kiss my cheeks. Like just it's really hard. Yeah, agreed, 100%. So Harold calls Michaela the yoga master, and you can see that she really is great at yoga. She obviously does yoga often. And then he says this thing that I was like, wait, what are you saying? He's like, yeah, this is one of the reasons why I came to the Czech Republic. I wanted to get a take charge type of woman. I want to meet a take charge type of woman. And that is what I'm seeing. I was like, wait, what? I don't even understand what I think he was like delirious at some points because he also had said something about being a beast to be devoured. I was like, what is happening with him? Like yoga is really taking him through it.
I'm gonna get to that.
He needed to fart so bad that he just started saying nonsense.
So she's taking him through more yoga poses, and she's constantly having to tell him to not speak. And then this is the moment where he said that he felt like he might die. He has a tummy ache and he feels self-conscious. And then this is where he was like, I've been eating a lot of seeds. You've been doing what? Like, Harold. Come on now. So, and then this is where he also went warp speed ahead to I don't know who you are again. So he says he wants to know where they stand as a couple, where she stands. He thinks that she's distracted and he's leaving in a few days and he has to know where we stand and he doesn't want to give up. I was like, my note literally says WTF. What are you even talking about right now? Like, what are you talking about? You don't want to give up on what? She's distracted. She's teaching you yoga and you've never done it. So she's giving you extra attention.
My man is delirious.
Real delirious. Then he said he was excited that the yoga class was over. He's happy to see her again, but it was a bit much for him. So she has to catch her train. She works all week doing 12-hour days at the spa. And he's like, okay, so, you know, when you off, she's like, oh, I'm off on Monday. He's like, okay, can I see you on Monday? And she's like, oh, well, you know, if I'm working all week, I probably have chores and errands and things to do. He's like, okay, Tuesday? She basically was like, sure, Harold, we can meet up on Tuesday if you want to come to me because it's 2 hours away, right? Prague is not next door. And so he's going to come. And this is where he just threw me for a leap. So will you introduce me to your family when I visit you? And you see her face, April? Her face is like, and there was a pause. And she's like, sure. Why not? No problem.
They'll be there. So.
They'll be there. They don't speak English, so you can say whatever you want. They're not going to understand you. And I will not be the one translating any of whatever it is that's going on over there. Then he says, because, you know, he can't get any faster. How do you say boyfriend? And I was like, Harold, can you just cut it out? But what was funny is her response. She's like, Patel, it's friend. It's the same thing. She's like, I am not teaching you no boyfriend word. It's friend. Patel.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, and it wasn't registering in his mind because he's like, oh, in America, you know, there's just so many different names for relationships. Boyfriend, girlfriend, baby daddy. I was like,
the fact that he went to baby daddy after boyfriend, girlfriend, I was like, wow, that's a whole different kind of relationship, Harold.
Right, but he's already there in his head, April, because of what he says next. So he's like, I just want to know more about her, and we'll see, you know, what the future holds. And, you know, I'm going to meet her family, and then maybe I'll be spending the night. So he's already there. He's like, this. Harold, can you just pump your brakes a little bit?
He can't. It's the congestion.
She's like, all the seeds. It's all the seeds he's been eating. She's like, yeah, you can come and, you know, I would love to show you where I live and my garden she talked about and her family, all of that. But you can see that she is still like, I don't know you, but you're welcome to like come and learn more about me. But Harold is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the house, I'm gonna meet the family, and we're gonna have sex, and then I'm gonna propose, and we are gonna get married.
He's doing so much. I hope Katerina puts him in check next episode.
Did you see the preview?
Yeah. I hope that's what she's doing, but we shall see.
You saw that yes, indeed, he's spiraling. And she didn't know what to do because she's like, no, like, you're not going to propose. You don't even know each other. And he stormed off like he was getting that ring.
It doesn't have to all happen right now. And I think all he needs is just some verbal reassurance instead of making up physical signs. If he would just say, my time is coming to an end. I want to, see if we're on the same page. Would you like to continue dating after this visit is over? Maybe we could see each other. Just some kind of confirmation that way instead of doing what he's doing. It's horrible.
This poor guy's getting in his own way.
It is. Most guys do get in their own way, but him we feel sorry for a little bit, don't we?
I do feel sorry for Harold, but I also need him to really pay attention to Katerina's direction because I feel like she's directing him correctly. And so I don't need him to go ahead and jump off the deep end.
Yeah.
Because that's what he started to do in this episode.
I also want him to check whether or not he really likes Michaela. Don't just, we have some interest in common, full steam ahead. I want you to also be checking, do we really enjoy each other's company together? Are there activities we want to do together? Do we want to live in the same place in the future? Like, he's too sold on, I've got to make it work because it was okay. The date that we had was good, so I have to make it work. You don't have to do that.
That, and he is coming from a place of loneliness, right? And so he's finally getting some attention and it's reciprocal. And so he's feeling like, yeah, this is it. No matter what, this is it. So he walks her to the train station, goes in for a kiss. And then he's like, I'm going to go back to my hotel room and dream about you. Oh, we're at 0 to 100, my friend. And then he did this thing, and I couldn't write it all down, you guys, because it was nonsensical to me. And maybe one of y'all, maybe it was a poem, maybe it was a quote. I was not familiar. All I know is I heard mass, the sea, swimming, the beast, devoured, lively woman. And it was literally like, what?
And I didn't understand any of it.
I was like,
I want him to go in his hotel room, get in child's pose, and just let that gas out. All the gas that he was holding, just let it out. Just let it out. Also, if she does yoga that often, she's been exposed to people, and maybe even herself have to let it go during class sometimes. So
100%.
It happens. It's okay. Just don't eat garlic beforehand.
Hilarious. Okay, moving on to Natalie. Overall thoughts on Natalie's?
Her and Juan concluded for her in a place that I think she needed to conclude. But I did want to hear the reason why the guy canceled the date.
I'm glad that she's starting to pick up what she needs to work on individually. So that, if anything, from this trip and experience will be invaluable in my opinion. So she's sitting at the cafe. One of the things that I was a little irritated by, but whatever, was the fact that she was not even trying to speak Spanish. Like, she would start it and then she'd be like, I'm just going to speak English. I just thought it was lazy of her because she knew, like she could say gracias and she knew, but she'd be like, oh, no, thank you. She could say cafe, but she's like, oh, no, I want to, you know what I'm saying, April? Like, she's April?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. She started, but then she would stop herself. And maybe she just felt insecure about trying her Spanish there. But I mean, if you're in the land and you want to try. No one's going to really fault you for that. Anyways, it's supposed to be her second date with Alejandro. She wants to get him to know him more, she says, and she thought that they had a really great connection. He's everything that she's looking for.
Is he, Natalie? Is he, Natalie? We don't even know what you're looking for. I didn't, that was annoying to me when she said that. Like, you don't know who you are. you really don't know what you're looking for except for it to not be what your mom is putting in front of you.
Facts.
So I'm glad he canceled the date, but I would have liked to hear his own words as to why. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I agree with you. Then Juan shows up, and she's surprised, obviously, because she thought, it was her date. And before Juan could tell her, and this is why I felt like she could put her listening ears on, because I feel like Juan would have told her more than her cutting him off saying, oh, what, he canceled? He didn't feel the connection. Like, she went there instead of, let me get some feedback. And he just nodded his head and said, yeah. And then she starts making excuses. So 5 seconds ago, you were like, Alejandro is everything I was looking for, and I want to get to know him more. And then you flip it in 30 seconds and say, well, we were different in some ways for sure. And, his relationship with spirituality is really intense, more than mine. I was like, I'm going to need you to stop talking, because we just heard you say one thing and now you're flipping it because you feel like you've been rejected. And so now you're going to say some things that are potentially derogatory towards the person that you feel rejected by. That is like so immature, in my opinion.
Very immature and incorrect. It wasn't that his relationship with spirituality was more intense than hers. It's the fact that she doesn't have one at all. You don't have one.
And she doesn't know who she is.
She's like, he asked her the question. My dad's Catholic and my mom is, okay, girl, you didn't answer the question.
Yeah, you're right. So where do we end up? She says, she thought Alejandro was nice and genuine. And she really doesn't know what happened. And the fact that you don't know what happened is why you need to just focus on yourself and focus on what it is that you think is important to you, as well as who you are as an individual, right? Because it's not like you're 22. So at some point you're going to have to start doing the self-awareness. Who am I? What do I want to be about? What do I stand for? What is important to me? What's not important to me? And all of those things, so that you can become a whole individual. Anyways, she tries to say, hey, what do I do now? And Juan's like, well, you're going to go back and you're going to sit down and have a conversation with your mom. And she's like, no, I think I'll probably just live my life in secret. And I was like, oh, see, you...
2 steps forward, a giant step back.
That part. Juan hammers into her, no, you really have to have that conversation. Do you want your mom to continue to control your dating life, or do you want to take control of your own life? If you want to take control of your own life, you're going to have to sit down and talk to your mom about it, or you and your mom are going to be joined at the hip and she's going to continue to do what she's always done. So she's had no connections with any of the guys after 2 dates, which again, I also think is weird, right? Because we've had 3 weeks in all of the cities. At least that's what we were told in the beginning of the series. And yet she only went on 2 dates. So
there has to be dates that we didn't get to see. There has to be.
They should have done a little montage or something, because make it make sense.
Because that amount of time doesn't really compute.
It doesn't at all.
And Susan had 3 dates.
Yeah, Susan had 3 dates. Harold had 2 dates. And Michelle, we've only had the 1 date. But she just got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So, no connections after 2 dates, but she's going to move forward, and she's going to move forward on her own. She's going to continue to explore the city, the country, and just have fun with herself, have fun on her own. And quote, when she said this is the only thing that I was like, okay, there's hope for you yet. She said, my journey to self-discovery.
That's exactly, Nathalie, if you're out there, that's the right thing, so that you can, use your own time wisely here on this earth.
Yeah.
And not waste other people's time.
Exactly. We wish her all the best.
Absolutely.
And maybe we'll see her exploring. Maybe this is not the last we see of her. Maybe we see her exploring and, working on that journey.
She can have a spinoff find myself.
Right. Susan. Oh, Susan.
Oh, Susan. Oh, Susan, I was rooting for you.
I knew she was stuck in her ways.
I was rooting for you from the beginning, Susan. I did not see that you are the problem, but babe, it's you. You're the problem. It's you.
Is that all
Someone that I know who's also a co-host on this show, so you guys might know her too, said that Susan was the problem in the beginning. But I, representing for the AARP crowd, said no. She doesn't have unrealistic expectations. She's fine. But yeah, she's the problem. She's the problem, but I understand that it comes from a lifetime of other people hurting you. So now you have to decide, Susan. You have to decide these things that you put in place to protect you from the traumas that you experienced. You have to thank them and then decide whether or not to let them go. Thank you. You served me. I'm letting you go. You got to decide.
Ryan says at least Susan left the dog this time, that part. And I will say this. I agree with you, April. However, I still have my doubts. And why I have my doubts is because if we go back to episode 1, when we very first met her, she talked about how she pays experts for when she needs them. And one of them was therapy. So if she indeed is going to therapy, then this is something that she should be working through and have been working through. However, I feel like she has control issues, and wherever that stems from, until she lets that go, she's not going to be able to work on the things she needs to work on because she's controlling the narrative for her own life, which is fair. But you say you want all these things and then you're not open to actually receiving them. So that being said, the question that April and I both had last week was the same question she had for herself. How is this date with Mauricio going to go? With Juan not being there, right? So second date, Juan not there. How is it going to be? Let me tell you, kudos to Mauricio. Because Mauricio allowed her, in my opinion, to push through her initial, what she wanted her initial responses to be. And here's why. So they meet up at like a bar. He was going to take her to an art gallery, but it was poor weather. So he brought the art to her, right? And so one of the things we know about Susan is she wanted her partner to be artistic, adventurous, financially stable. Juan says one of the reasons that Mauricio and Susan connect is because they both have the experience of divorce. And I threw in my own opinion. I also think it's because he's older and age appropriate.
That's true. That's a real thing.
Only for her. I feel like love can be love at any age and it doesn't really matter. But for Susan specifically, I think for her personality,
and for her insecurity.
Yeah, she respects older because she feels like older equals experience equals on her level.
Yes.
Because you think back to the 30-somethings that she was dating, she kept acting like they were kind of below her because they didn't have the same life experiences. And she kept saying they're too young, and all of the things. So she wasn't going to be able to make those type of complaints about Mauricio because, Mauricio's in his 50s. So he brings the art gallery to her, which I thought was really awesome. He brought this art book and all the drawing utensils that you need. And he encouraged her to draw. Now, Susan reminds me of someone that I know, and I won't name that person, and it's not April. Susan reminds me of someone that I know where this person's first reaction all the time is no. Do you know anyone like that?
Yes.
Like, it could be absolutely something that is totally in line with this person, and you can say it instead of being like, yes, no. And then they warm up to it. It's like a weird automatic reaction. I know someone that's just like that. Like, it's wild to me. It's wild. Like, you want to say yes. Why are you saying no right now? Anyways, that's what she did. She's like, no. And then he ignored that and just handed her the drawing utensil. And while he handed to her, he said, "What is your light?" Right? Which had made her think, because it made her think, she equates that to like, oh, he's smart. And so says, you always ask good questions, right? Any question is a great question because it's a question you're trying to learn something, in my opinion. But because he's on her level, that's a great question. So she ends up taking the drawing utensil and starts drawing. And I feel personally that is how he took that first wall down, because now she's distracted. And she's distracted because she's drawing, and she also is a perfectionist, so she wants to match what she sees on the paper. So while she's spending so much time there, guess what? He's opening her up. He says, what is your light? And she answers, April, her first light in her whole life is her dog, Calliope. What were your thoughts on that?
I rolled my eyes, and then I immediately took it back, because I think it was just a moment later when she says that she couldn't have kids, and that was a really hurtful thing for her. And so Calliope is like her child. And I was like, okay, for somebody who wanted to have children to not be able to have children, I understand a little bit better now why she's treating the dog this way. So shame on me for being judgy about it. It's not my experience, so I don't know exactly what it's like, but just looking at her face, if that facial expression they showed us is the one that corresponded with her telling that story, she's clearly very hurt by it still.
Yeah. Okay, I'll leave it there. So yes, I agree with you. It has to be hurtful, and I wish she would have shared that journey a little bit so that we can understand her more, because I do know that, despite what you heard, there are a lot of women, more often than not, that struggle with pregnancy and have to go through a lot of things, whether it's surrogacy or IVF or all the things. What up, Jess? Riley's in the house.
What's up, Riley?
You know what, Riley? I'm going to let you not have a hard time today, because we are doing Match Me Abroad, and we're on season. But we'll get to you. So, that being said, I really wish that was part of her opening story, because I feel like we would have been able to relate to her a little bit more. And I specifically probably would not have been as hard on her as I had been. However, go ahead.
Oh, I'm starting to think that Susan didn't share of these hard things in her life because she has trouble saying them out loud without breaking down. So if we know that control is one of her major mechanisms that she uses to keep her together, then she's not going to be able to talk about those things, see herself crying, or have an emotional time on TV. She's not going to be able to do it. Even if she's been in therapy for a long time, if that's her main mechanism of protecting herself. So for some people, I suddenly in this episode see so much hurt in her path that now I'm like, I think her and Natalie need to go explore the world together and spend some time just traveling and doing things and working out how to, in a platonic relationship, have trust and love, so they can just step by step get to the romantic relationship.
I'm going to say something after. I'm going to ask you a question. Does she bring her dog on this journey with her?
Well, she has to bring Calliope with her, because who's going to keep Calliope for a whole, I think this needs to be a year-long thing.
I agree with everything April just said. I think that we did see a lot of pain. We did see a lot of hurt. Like I said, we understand where her control issues come from and why she has walls up and all of that. However, and y'all can come for me, the fur babies and all that. I love dogs. I'm a dog lover. I would love to have a Frenchie in my life at some point. But my dog is not going to be on the same dining table that I eat. I'm not sticking my finger in the wine that I'm drinking and having my dog drink from that same finger the wine like a wino. Like, I'm just not doing it. So I feel for her, but there are some things I'm just like, really, really, Susan, really?
Well, Nathalie might not care about that kind of stuff, but basically, yes, Ryan. Basically, yes.
Natalie and Susan need to have an Eat, Pray, Love sabbatical. That could be part season 2.
Yes. They
Steve
do.
Cruz, thank you so much for the super sticker. So much appreciated. For those of you guys watching B90, Just Riley's in the house, and he says, feel free to roast him. You can go over to his social media at Just Riley and roast him all day long. He appreciates it and respects it. Don't troll, roast. There's a difference.
There is a difference. Keep it respectful, no bullying. But actually, so what Ryan said about them having an Eat, Pray, Love sabbatical, I think that a lot of women need to do that. We're in an environment right now. We're still in the historical arc of women being able to vote and work and have bank accounts. And in that arc, there's still a lot of finding who you are and what success means and what kind of partnerships you want and what's valuable in your life. And when you're coming from certain backgrounds, this traditional background that Nathalie's coming from, it's really hard to find yourself in that for some people. So, yeah.
Agreed. So, Susan, what is your like? Calliope, first her dog, second her dad, and then Mauricio asked about her mom. And again, here we find that this is another point of contention in Susan's life. She's like, yeah, but it's a difficult situation, right? Which makes so much sense to me, by the way. So he asked for a picture. She has one. And if you notice, April, the picture was like, the picture that she had was old, you guys. It wasn't like, hey, this is two years ago, or this is pre-pandemic. It was like old when she was a baby, which again explained a lot to me, right?
You're still seeing yourself. To me, it meant she's still seeing herself as a child in this relationship. And that is a lot. That says a lot.
I think that from her first marriage, when she was in her early 20s, I think that heartbreak is where her emotional development got stunted. I think from that point forward, she developed from a broken place. And because it's been so many years now, like you said, she could be doing therapy all day long, but because she's built it on a place of brokenness, it hasn't healed yet. And so all of these wounds pop up on her dates. Pops up when you ask her a question the first date. I don't talk about that on the first date.
Mm-hmm.
You ask her, what is your light? I don't talk about that on the second date. So if you don't talk about the first date and the second date, third date, when you're getting to know someone, when do you talk about it? So you don't make it to the fourth and fifth date, because when you're too far in, and like I always say, you don't have the conversations that you need to have up front before you get into a serious relationship, you're in too deep. And we're seeing that by 90 Day Fiance the other way. Don't get me started on Brandon and Mary, because I went off yesterday. So go ahead and go and watch that replay. But Brandon and Mary, 2 years in from trauma bonding, right? And now they're in too deep. So let's talk about those things. Let's talk about, sex, religion, children, finances. Get the hard things out of the way, because why waste your time if you guys are not compatible and on the same page?
Yeah, I agree. Also, when you go to therapy, like Susan saying that she goes to therapy, if you only go in crisis, then you're not going to get down to what are the patterns in your life that are leading you to certain places. I had that same problem. The first time I started therapy was a crisis. Second time I started therapy was a crisis. And as soon as it's over, you think, okay, you're done. Finally, I was like, you know what? Let me just go when I'm not in a crisis and figure out where my issues are coming from and what can I do on my own to help serve those. Now, some things you can only fix in the context of a relationship. But if you go when you're not in a crisis, that's when you get to go back and talk about your childhood.
Yeah.
And those, you know what I mean? So we don't, when she says she goes to therapy, we don't know exactly what she means by that. But it definitely, there are different things you can get out of therapy going at different times to make it more helpful.
Agreed. So we learned the most what we've learned about Susan in this episode. So like I said, we learned about not being able to have children. We learned about her issue with her mom and a difficult relationship there. And then she talks about how Calliope, her dog, fills the voids that she feels in her life, which again is another thing. So besides the children thing, there's some voids that she's feeling, whether that means the void of not experiencing motherhood, being lonely, being by herself, being like the one that is always protecting her feelings. Or it could be a plethora of things. That's the most we've known about her. She like gave us a huge peek into her personality. Shout out to Rory, who's saying she's looking forward to, Rory's looking forward to starting therapy.
Good for you, Rory.
Good for you, Rory. Okay, so then we talk about Mauricio's daughter, and here's where they looped us all together, you guys. They ain't slick. So Mauricio's daughter happens to live in New York City. And where is Susan from? Susan's from New York City.
New York City.
How often does he go? At least once or twice a year. And we know that Susan travels a lot. So if there is a future for these two, I can see how it can happen, right? Because he can come to her a few times. She can come to him a few times. So she's like, okay, cool. The next time you're in town, text me. We can meet up. And he's like, yeah, we can go to museums. And she's like, yeah, I could be your tour guide. She likes him. He likes her. And he makes the gesture that there will be a next time. So he says, you know, we can finish this drawing the next date. And tells the cameras, I'd love to see her again. I feel like we have a connection. And he's like, let me walk you to the elevator. And then they had this awkward.
Just kiss him, girl. She wanted to, but then she didn't want to. And like the half commit doesn't work.
Well, here's what happened. He was being respectful and a gentleman. So he gave the double kiss, right? Right? Press the button for the elevator. Now, what happened, y'all, is that she waited too long. In her mind, she's like, should I kiss him? Should I not kiss him? Should I kiss him? Should I not kiss him? Boom. Elevator doors open. He's looking at her. She's looking at him. So she decides to make her move. And she goes in to make the move and like gets like partial lip. But he was already turning to hug her again. Then she got embarrassed because you also know she doesn't put herself out there like that, right? So to have the fumble, I could literally visually see her like curling right back up, putting the shades right back down. Like, do you know what I mean? Like she was exactly. Like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Overthinking. Yeah. She gets in and then she still had that like crazy awkward energy. So she's like, okay, bye. And she's like, ciao, adios. Like all the things until the doors closed. I was like, please put this woman out of her misery.
It's okay. It's okay, Susan.
I called it the Bob Weave situation. Bobbing and weaving. Weaving and bobbing.
Right.
At the end, though, she does feel hopeful. She is appreciative of the experience, and we have seen her grow in the last 9 episodes because she was like rigid and cold in the beginning, and for her to get to this point, I'm pretty happy, right? We'll see what happens. I'm
happy for her. So it turns out she just needed Juan to go on the first date with her to make things go a little bit better. I was wondering in the future if Juan has someone like her, if he would just do that off the bat.
Absolutely.
If you ever have an interview with him, that's a question I'd ask him. Like, you know, off the bat, do you ever have some clients that you're like, I'm definitely going on your first date with you? Or do you have some clients that you're just like, your first couple activities are going to be group dates, group meetings? I'd be curious about that.
I should try to set that up, because that would be a great thing for the thing that we're doing at the end of our show. That would be like, here's our list. Who would you set us up with? Let me see if I can make that happen. We've
Absolutely.
had crazy interviews all weekend long. You guys, if you are part of my Patreon, go ahead and head over there. We have Dr. April. We did a one-on-one with her, as well as we're catching up with the cast of Series 1, 90 Day Fiancé UK. And first up was Caleb and Marvin, and they were so lovely. So if you guys are curious about what they've been up to, definitely head on over to my Patreon. Okay. Last and certainly not least is our girl Stanika.
Stanika. We're so excited.
Woo! Okay, so overall thoughts on her segment.
I could not love Stanika more. I couldn't. She's going in full of personality, excited about meeting the family. I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too. I was a little doubtful last episode because I was like, girl, this is not who you were presenting to be. I don't know what's happening. Don't let them turn you, girl.
Yes, don't let them turn you negative. You are positive.
You are all positive. So I was worried. And should we talk about that now, or should we talk? Let's talk.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So we were a little hard on her last week. We didn't like some of the things that we saw. And she let us know how she felt about what we said.
Do you want to read it? Shall I?
Yeah, I'll read it. Well, actually, you do it, because I'm still having this weird echo sometimes.
Okay. I wouldn't say negative. So if you guys remember from last week, April and I kind of went in on Stanika, because we were not sure who this person was that showed up in episode 8. It was just very much not who we've gotten to know. So we did think it came off as a little bit negative, a little bit like, ooh, don't let them pigeonhole you, girl. We're not doing that. So in response, Stanika said, I wouldn't say negative, but as a viewer, I see how y'all get that from that particular clip. I'm funny and energetic, but I also have a sarcastic sense of humor. Nordine does too. But in my clip, y'all didn't get to hear any of our actual jokes. Fun fact though, I wasn't produced like that. My conversations flowed easily, that they just let the camera roll majority of the time. The car ride she talks about, where remember I told you, or excuse me, we talked about her being like extra quiet and like no real interaction. Her response to that was, the car ride, I got quieter the closer we got to his mom's house, just out of nervousness. But Nordine likes to talk a lot. We talked that whole car ride and laughed because I wore real jeans on the hottest day in Morocco. I don't know what y'all going to see next week, but I do know my face expressions will be on 1,000.
So we appreciate Stanika for letting us in on what's going on.
Absolutely. Thank you, girl, for reaching out. We appreciate you. That being said, she's meeting his family. It's a must-do, right? You got to meet the family. It's part of the culture. And the mom has to approve in order for Nordine and Stanika to move their relationship forward. So Nordine is hoping that his mom likes Stanika, and Stanika is hoping that his mom likes Stanika. And she decides that she's going to wear jeans and a shirt on one of the hottest days over there. I think that she was just tired of just wearing dresses. You know how we girls are. We're like, let's switch it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. So she switched it up, got the fabric, because the fabrics is the surprise for the mom, right? Is part of like the etiquette and culture there. And Nina says to the producers and to all of us that she thinks that Nordine's mom is going to love Stanika, tell Stanika to just be herself, because we all know that Stanika is full of personality. She's like wowed us, right? She's very kind, very considerate, thought-provoking, all the things. So Nina's like, just be yourself, because at the end of the day, Stanika is a very respectable woman. Right. And I couldn't have said it better. Maybe we had like a little last week, but she's back to her normal self. So Sanika's excited. She's nervous. She says, she's a little bit nervous because she's got a big personality and a lot of energy. So she's hoping that it goes well in this traditional conservative environment. Do you want to add anything before I move on?
No, go ahead.
So then they get there, and what I think is funny is like her second date. I don't even remember that dude's name.
Salah.
Yeah. So Salah says it's going to be like my brother and the interpreter, and then the mom and the dad show up, right? And like everyone's there. Nardine says, "Oh, it's going to be my mom, and it might be my aunt. Oh, and it might be my brother." Then it was the mom, the aunt, the cousin, the brother. I was like, y'all, notice the ambush. But it went well. So the mom, Malika, is there, as well as Yosef, the brother. And they greet Stanika with open arms. She presents a gift, and it was so sweet, like that whole moment, because if you guys remember, Stanika's like, I want to pick up the material, and I like purple, and Nordine's like, my mom doesn't like purple, but Stanika stuck to the purple, got the purple with the glitter, right? Because, what girl doesn't like glitter? And then the mom loved it, and you could see she loved it because she pulled it up to her, and she was like, yeah, she was all like a little kid, like, I love that. So good job, Stanika.
Yes, I'm here, cottage.
And so that was really sweet. They all sit down. The aunt comes in, and the brother starts doing this little thing that big brothers tend to do, talk a lot of shit. So Yosef starts talking about Nardine, like, hey, Nardine's the only single one in the family. He's not a traditional Arabic. He's not a traditional Muslim. He's not a traditional Moroccan guy. And he has the audacity to ask questions about a lot of things of our culture. We're just really trying to get him married off.
I loved hearing him talk about, like, he's not traditional. We're just trying to get rid of him. Like, I to me, that's like a good brother relationship. But what do I know?
I mean, I'm here for it. I just think it's funny. I love watching Stanika. Us too, Morgan. What up, Wonderlust? Wonderlust is in Puerto Vallarta. Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien.
Thanks for joining us on your holiday.
Right.
So.
Oh, wait, I wanted to say one thing. Stanika, you're wrong for calling that little girl a Big 12.
But that's part of her personality. I thought it was hilarious. And so I was like, girl, you did that one for the culture. Not a lot of people are like, what do you mean by Big 12? Like the Big 12? Is that like the Pac 12? What do you mean by that?
I died laughing. Like, does anybody even understand what she's saying right now?
Culture. Okay, so yeah, Asia is her name, and the reason why I know that is because I think I told you guys this, and maybe I didn't. I don't know. I'm private, but my Ghanaian name is Afia, and so I was like, "Oh, Afia, Asia." That's how I even know how to pronounce it, because it's the F and the S. Anyways, she's 12, and according to Sneak, she's a big 12. But Stanika liked the outfit that Asia was wearing, as well as what the mom was wearing. And she's in these jeans, she's got a shirt on, she's got a blazer on top of that, and she was burning up. Clearly there was no air conditioning up in there. And so she mentioned like she likes the outfit and that she's feeling burning up and hot. So the mom was like, well, you're more than welcome to, wear one of mine. And so they did. Oh, it's her 50th birthday. Oh, Lord.
Happy birthday.
You know what that calls for, right? Here we do it.
Okay.
Y'all know what happens when there are birthdays, or if I'm talking about Soulja Boy. Jess Riley, happy birthday. All right, here we go with my auto-tune. Happy birthday to ya, cha cha cha. Happy birthday to ya, cha cha cha. Happy birthday, Wonderlust, cha cha cha. Happy 54th birthday to you.
The big 5-4.
The big 5-4.
Have a wonderful birthday. I hope you're enjoying being in Mexico and having lots of good food and drinks if that's your thing.
So funny. All right, so back to Stanika. So the mom and the aunt and Stanika go off to the room. She changes, comes back. She's super comfortable and she's happy that she's changed. She feels accepted by the family. She wasn't sure if she was being accepted, but she felt like that gesture was like, okay, the mom's cool with me. So far, so good. And then they start bringing the food out. And this is where, I don't know, girl. I don't know. I'm going to have to hear what April has to say. Oh, Wonderlove, we love you right back. I want to see what April has to say because, you know, we tend to not agree. We agree to disagree. So here's what happens. They bring the food out and traditional food, and then they bring this milk situation out, right? And so it's a traditional milk drink, which is interesting because I didn't hear them say a name. Did you, April?
I did not hear the name of it.
Yeah, it was weird. I was like, that way I could have looked it up and had more information for you guys, but they didn't say the name. Here's what I know. So they said, you know how you milk the cow, you get the first part of the milk out, the bottom fat, they turn into butter, and then the rest of it, they call it the skimmed milk. And this is the skim milk that they drink with couscous. Now, Stanika was like, she felt like she could smell the milk from across the way. And she said something that I hate when you Americans say this, but whatever. She said, this is not like the milk in America. And I'm going to say, well, you're not in America, so obviously it's not going to be like the milk in America. But that's just what I would say. She doesn't like it. And she doesn't like it. She doesn't like the smell of it. She doesn't like it. And she can't hide it off of her face. She can't hide it off of her expressions. And she says, in her words, that she hopes, quote, the spoiled milk is not why the relationship ends before it starts. What are your thoughts on that part, April? You go first.
You don't have to say this is not like America for you to just not like something. You can just not like something. It's okay for you to just, I'm sorry, that's not my thing. Thank you for letting me try it. Let's move on to the next thing that you want me to try. That's, you know, that is enough. I would have had to tell them that I'm lactose intolerant. I'm not doing that. And I don't even respect my lactose intolerance the majority of the time. But if I can smell it before it's even in front of me, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't do dairy.
And that's all you have to say. I appreciate, because I'm one of those people too that like my face says it all the time. Let's see what happens, because I feel like in the preview it gets worse. I feel like you could be like, hey, you know what? No, thank you. April, lactose intolerance, whatever, but this is not like milk from America.
Well, you're not there. So, you know, my fellow American Canadians, we can't do that.
No. So I'm going to cut you off right there. I'm going to cut you off immediately. I gave you honorary because everyone else did. But then see how Americans are? What you're not about to do is loop us.
Did I tell you how I stopped myself from being American on my last vacation? Guys, I'm so proud of myself. We went on a walk through some lava fields and we noticed that like everything is there that you need to make some lava soap. And we were like, oh my gosh, we could just take some of the lava rocks, we could make lava soap. And we collectively said, wait a minute, that would be very American of us to just take these people's lava rocks. We can't do that. We can't just take their stuff. We'll just buy it from the store where they sell it. Kudos. I didn't.
You see how she has to give herself applause?
I fought
You're doing the right thing.
my instinct. That's my 25% of my DNA. I fought it. Beat it down.
Okay, so what were you saying when you were trying to group in the Canadians and Americans?
You don't have to say that you don't like something because it's not American. You can just say, I don't like it. You don't have to be like, well, this is not how it's done in America. Well, in America, we blah, 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 blah. Well, we don't drink this in America. Well, in America, we cook it like this. In America, we clean like that. You don't have to. Just, I don't like it.
And why do you guys do that, by the way?
I don't know where that impulse comes from to have to make it a comparison. But we do know that this is Tanika's first trip out of the country. So we know that it is her only basis of comparison. I'd like to think that with more travel, she would drop that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. A lot of Americans are just pretentious. So
yeah, this was her only little stumble. I think she did very, very well. I think she did very, very well.
In the very first episode, we saw her trying different kinds of lamb and tea. And so I think this is the first time that she's not adequately rejecting or enjoying something. It's also the first time I think I've heard her make that comparison in America, blah, 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 blah. So I just, I also am looking at her with a more positive light than a lot of the other characters. Or the other people on the show. So I'm giving her a lot more benefit of the doubt than I give a lot of other people too, admittedly.
Rory just said what I said. You can politely decline the offer as this Canadian would do, which is what I just said. Thank you, but no.
You can. You don't have to say this is not how we do it in Canada.
You will not hear those words come out of any Canadian. You've never heard that. You've never heard that. We don't do that in
I've heard it when I say it.
Yeah.
I crack myself up, you guys. Don't take that seriously.
Girl, they already think you're Canadian. When I saw the post, they were like, "Welcome back to Canada." Safe travels back to Canada. I
was laughing so hard because when you come back when you go through Icelandic customs, it's like U.S. and Canada over here, and then everybody else over here. You're not allowed to take pictures in there, but I want to take a picture so bad and be like, "See, going in the Canadian line."
I'm done with her.
But yeah, I don't know where that impulse comes from to do that. I think it's probably on the decline now because America's not doing that great as a country. But we shall see.
Ryan, this is her very first trip outside of America. So I don't believe she's been anywhere else besides Morocco, but she did very, very well on this very first trip. She did a solo trip. She stayed by herself, all the things. So she deserves a round of applause.
And we didn't see it, but she's actually been out exploring the country on the days that she doesn't have dates.
You want to go ahead and read that one? Do you want to read that one or not?
I wanna.
Oh, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you guys are watching before the 90 days, I'm catching us up tonight at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so come on back. We appreciate you guys being here, and see you soon.
Remember to send your body down and wind it all around.
You see her? Do you see her? You guys, I blame y'all. You let her out. Now she's rolling with it. Rolling.
Wait till Crystal comes back. I got to put my British accent on. Thanks to everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, Riley.
What is she? April needs to have some poutine. Have you had poutine before, April?
I've had poutine before. Unfortunately, because I'm lactose intolerant, I cannot indulge.
You see how she's making this up right now, right? And she paused. That pause was like, oh, what do I say next?
Love it.
Bye, guys.
Bye.